We can start.
Hello and welcome all the teachers. Today we will be talking about autism. As we know, it's a neurodevelopmental disorder. And in our previous sessions also, we have been constantly talking about all the 21 disabilities given by RPWD Act 2016. So till now, we have covered intellectual disability, slow learner, autism. Like today we are going to cover autism, and in the further sessions we will be covering up tomorrow the same session in Hindi, and from day after tomorrow we are going to cover up ADHD and multiple disability. Thereafter we will be covering up the rest of the physical, blood related and other disabilities as per the RPWD Act 2016. So once again I am welcoming all the teachers on board. So right now I will be sharing my screen, teachers, with all of you, and we are going to definitely have an much more in-depth understanding about exactly what is autism, or if I name it correctly, it's called autism spectrum disorder. And there have been few changes also as per the criteria which we used to consider before, and as compared to what we consider now to diagnose a child with autism spectrum disorder. So teachers, let me share my screen with all of you. Okay, so basically what is autism? So of course it's written in the definition as you can see on the slide. So basically it's a kind of a neurodevelopmental disorder, and it is something, it's that kind of a disorder which can be diagnosed within the very early years of development or early years of after birth. That is primarily within 3 years of age and more. So whenever we are diagnosing a child, whenever we are trying to identify certain main symptoms of autism in any child, primarily or in most of the cases, if I can say, that the symptoms may or may not come between 3 years or 3 years of age, and it can also be possible in certain cases that identification of some of the main symptoms can be beyond 3 years of age also. So what are the key features, or if I say the key signs and symptoms of autism? First, lack, or you can say poor social interaction, poor social communication, and certain kind of very unusual or repetitive behaviors which are not very much normalized, or which we generally do not see in any other child, especially who are present in the classroom situation. So teachers, depending on the levels of autism spectrum disorder, whether mild, moderate or severe, or that can also be possible that a child is there and only there are just very few symptoms or signs of autism in the child, maybe or may not be the child fall under mild, moderate or severe. So we have to know all these things technically before to at least identify or diagnose a child with autism. So the primary symptoms, as I just said, poor uh, communication, poor social interaction and repetitive behavior. So let us quickly understand that what exactly comprises of all these three main domains or three main areas. And also in the further slides, that in the checklist you all will be able to understand that what are the prime symptoms whenever we are putting it as yes, no or maybe, whenever doing a checklist with any child. So the main intervention, if I talk about, so in autism or any kind of neurodevelopmental disorder, prime thing, teachers, what we have to keep in mind is that there is no particular medicine. This we all have to know. Rather, there are multiple ways or multiple intervention plans or strategies or therapies, what we call, for better treatment plan, or if I say for better management of children with autism spectrum disorder. But if I say that, okay, to cure suddenly autism as a disorder, there is no such medicine prescribed by any doctor or anybody or any other professional till date. Yes, some of you may or may not be knowing that at times psychiatrists or other doctors definitely do prescribe certain medications for autism. But let me clear that doubt also for you teachers. It's only or majorly for certain aspects of behavior. For example, a lot of anger issues, lot of irritation, lot of hyperactivity. So basically, whatever the mild symptoms attached with autism spectrum disorder, for that primarily doctors generally gives medication, but not as a whole of autism if we see. So teachers, very briefly, we will discuss the checklist, basically the prime signs and symptoms, how to diagnose, whether for teachers, whether for parents or for any professional, how we can diagnose a child having or falling under the category of ASD, which is a short form of autism spectrum disorder, has poor eye contact. If at all, whosoever is listening to me right now, maybe that you all must have come across any child with autism or autism spectrum disorder or certain related disorder in the school itself or in the classroom situation. It may be possible that the child having autism will definitely have certain issues in looking towards you or looking towards the source of whosoever is talking to them, or they will fail to initiate any conversation with anybody, or they will maximum of the times they will maybe say one or two or maximum three words, but definitely the overall language and the usage of communication will be definitely poor. So this is the first sign or symptom of any child who does not have ASD for that matter. So poor eye contact. Second will be teachers engages in solitary or repetitive activities. Just with an example, I will tell you, constantly, for example, I am flipping the phone, or constantly I'm just shaking the bottle, or it can be possible that I'm just tearing off the page into bits and pieces and I'm just moving that those papers, keeping it in my hand, and I will constantly love to follow the way the papers are moving, and I will deliberately do that kind of activity, and I will take a lot of excitement and a lot of joy after seeing such kind of a movement of, for that matter, any kind of object. Also, it's possible that teachers at times, student or children with ASD generally loves to do the tossing of certain things or rotating certain things. It can be any circular kind of object, or it can be a bottle or anything for that matter. But generally it has been seen that they love to rotate certain things, and also they love to look towards those things which are rotating. That means a fan, or a fan which is on the wall and it's moving from left to right, or any kind of a movement like the wheels in the car. They just most of the times love to observe these kind of moving things. Third will be teachers cannot maintain peer relations. As I mentioned earlier, that they will be having a major lack in initiating any conversation or initiating any kind of friendship and maintaining any kind of peer relations, whether in the classroom situation or near their home, in their neighborhood, and etc. Shows exaggerated emotions. So definitely teachers, it's a very prime symptom if we talk about ASD children. Exaggerated emotion. Yes, I agree that any child who does not fall under the category of ASD, maybe as a child everybody is super excited, or at times if we see nowadays children are least bothered also at times related to certain things, and they may or may not have that kind of an excitement level what we used to have when we were children. So those kind of shifts is still manageable or understandable. But if I talk about children with ASD, here we have to understand exaggerated emotions. Whether I see a person or if I see a dog, and I really love dogs, my excitement level as a ASD child will be, normally it would have been 50%, but as a child with ASD it will be near 100% or maybe more than 100%. So any kind of overexcitement or understimulation generally categorizes somewhere under the umbrella term of ASD. Fifth will be has difficulty in using non-verbal language or gestures. Teachers, it's a very important point or a symptom, I would say, of ASD. Whether if you come across any child in the class having ASD, that means it's not necessary that he or she is not understanding anything what you are saying. Rather, it can also be possible that the child may be understanding 30% or 40% of your instructions, but he may fail miserably in expressing the answer or in response verbally to you. Also, if I ask them ki, okay beta, please you just point towards the thing whatever you need right now, or just tell me in gestures that no, yes, I don't know. These kind of minute, which can be very easy for you, for me, and we are all through the day, every time we are using these kind of non-verbal gestures or non-verbal communication. But for these children, unfortunately, they are not able to even at times understand what the instruction is. Even at all, if they understand, they are unable to express their emotions, their requirements, their needs in terms of verbal and non-verbal communication. Unable to understand the meaning of the conversation. As I said, they fail to initiate the conversation. Automatically, this also covers that they may not be able to decode what you may be saying as a teacher or as a parent or as any friend. So for me, a child with ASD, it's only certain confused words which are going in my mind, or a proper sentence which is going in my mind, but my mind is unable to decode those sentences in that. For example, I tell a child with ASD, uh, Ram, you please go and call your father. So it's just simple certain words for the child with ASD. He may not be able to understand that exactly whom he has to call or what next reaction he has to give when I tell this kind of instruction to the child. Next will be teachers engages in echolalic speech. It's one of the most prime symptoms whenever we talk about autism spectrum disorder. Echolalia means one is little bit different, that is called repetitive speech. That means I am constantly repeating that mama, please take me out, mom, please take me out, I want to go to the playground. So I am repeating this 10 times maybe or 3 times maybe. But echolalic, what we generally get very much confused between the repetitive and the echolalic speech. Echolalia means echo. That means if I ask, beta, what is your name? What is your name? So it's completely an like an echo, what we have in the generally feel in the mountains. If we try that, so the same voice in the same tone comes back to us. So beta, where do you live? He may be giving a blank expression to you or maybe trying to understand a bit, but eventually, unfortunately, he may come up as an answer that, beta, where do you stay? So the question and a proper answer is at times difficult for them to understand. To have that receptive learning, it becomes quite difficult for children with ASD. Produces unusual and repetitive noises. It can be any sound like a cooing sound, like a crying sound, screaming sound, or a babbling kind of a sound. It may not be a proper word, but it may be a proper word also, but constant repetitions makes their adjustment in a proper classroom setting little bit difficult, teachers. So these are some of the main key factors if I talk about ASD. Aggressive behavior. Definitely, as I told you initial bit, that most of the psychiatrists or other doctors who can prescribe medicines, they do prescribe medicines in terms of in controlling only a particular aspect of the behavior. That can be an aggressive behavior, that can be a very irritable kind of a behavior, or the child is so much aggressive or he falls under the moderate or severe level of autism. Then yes, it's most probably it's liable that he or she may have a lot of aggressive issues also. So we have to be very careful about that. Response to objects, people by smelling, tasting or touching. smell, taste, and touch. When we have a proper, reliable checklist of autism, also as a psychologist or as counselors, we always try to rule out this particular symptom, because we have seen in most of the cases children with autism mostly do have an habit of uh, seeing anything new around them, whether it may be a food item or it may not be a food item, but still they will be getting adjusted to the thing by either smelling, touching, or tasting the thing. So eventually, most of the times it happens that they may be eating up something which is not edible. So this aspect has to be taken a lot of care if I talk about children with autism. They are insensitive to pain. Either they are oversensitive or they are undersensitive. uh, and also self-injurious behavior. Of course, child who falls under the category of moderate or severe autism may or may not show this kind of a behavior of just self-hitting. Also, they have a habit of hitting their own selves or banging the head on the door or on the table or on the wall, especially when they are having any sensory issue, or it's also possible when they are trying to have any temper tantrums. If a certain thing has not been given to them, then we have seen they show this kind of aggressive behavior a lot as compared to in the normal situation. Stares into space for long period, that means that I am looking towards especially the corner of the room. Especially these kind of locations are very liable for them to stare. If it's any corner of the room, they love to just for hours or for a lot of minutes, at least they can spend a lot of time spending just staring, simply just staring into the corners of the wall. But they may be thinking something, or they may not be thinking something, or they may be completely blank at that time. But it's just a sensory need of the visual needs what they have. That is why they indulge into these kind of things. Shows delay in responding, yes, because if I talk about autism or children with autism spectrum disorder, cognitive deterioration or poor cognitive ability is most of this time, teachers, it's seen in ASD children. When I say poor cognitive ability, that means their mental skills, their mental adaptive skills are much more poor as compared to any other child who does not fall under this category. So definitely we cannot expect that child to completely fit in that classroom situation, or we definitely cannot expect the child to get excellent marks or excellent grades all through the year. So we have to keep this also in mind. So teachers, till now I was talking about what are the main signs and symptoms of ASD, how you can identify with a brief kind of a checklist. And of course, definitely we do not have to forget this. This is a very rough and a basic checklist for all of you to just understand. If at all you come across as teachers any child with ASD in your class or in the school, the first and foremost thing, teachers, you have to do is to consult, to talk with the parents as well. And at the first go, you have to consult a proper clinical or a psychologist who can ethically diagnose that child with ASD, rather than you jumping into certain wrong diagnosis for that matter. So that kind of a psychoeducation process should be very much present between the teacher, between the parents, and the counselor or the special educator, whosoever is available in the school. So basically, teachers, in short, let us understand how you can contribute if you observe such a child in your class or in the school. Like all kids, children with autism have strengths and weakness. Why this is important for you as teachers to understand? Because in the first go, if I mentally have a block that okay, there is nothing that we can do with the child, only I have to focus on the children having normal IQ, and what can I do maximum rather than giving a supportive environment. So at least if you try to sensitize the other children towards that particular child, and if you acknowledge as teachers the fact that yes, this child is also as special like all the other children in my class, and I will definitely accept his strengths and weakness as a teacher, then teachers, I am very sure you have already crossed the first hurdle in sensitizing the other people and as a whole. Respect the patterns, because suddenly if you wish that if you will change the schedule or the timetable in the class for that matter for these children, definitely teachers, they will be showing a lot of temper tantrums maybe, or they may be having a lot of sensory issues, and adjusting in that situation certain change in the routine, it will definitely be very very difficult for any child with ASD. So sudden changes in the routine or sudden changes in the schedule may be very harmful for that child. Be aware of the sensory issues. That means, as I told you, they may be hypersensitive or hyposensitive, over or under. So any kind of even like the sound of the crackers, the sound of the whistle, maybe the sound of the pressure cooker even, or any kind of a big sound, they may be hypersensitive or hyposensitive. So definitely teachers, they have to understand that whatever instructions you may be giving to the child, maybe Okay, I'm so sorry, teachers. There was some internet problem. So, just before wrapping up, certain more points, two, 3 points, which we have to cover and we have to understand as teachers. That is, as I was telling you, the flapping habit, maybe of the finger movement or the hand movement or anything, whatever they get near their hand, they may have a habit of flapping those things. Provide instructions. So, teachers, whether as parents you are listening it, whether as teachers, so this is a prime thing what we all have to understand and know definitely when we are talking about these children is maximum whatever instructions you may be giving to the child, it has to be very very crisp, very very short, and multiple words, multiple instructions definitely do not work with children with autism. So this is a prime thing or an intervention strategy which we really have to understand if we are tackling any child with autism, maybe in the class or maybe in the school or anywhere. Understand that children with autism need extra time to process language. That means, as we had discussed in the symptoms, they have a poor language and communication ability. The skills are definitely poor as compared to others. Definitely, that means that whatever instruction in whichever language I'm giving to the child, maybe Hindi, English, or anything, or in any language, may be possible that the child may face little bit confusion in understanding or processing what exactly you are telling the child. Then you have to have that amount of patience to at least let the child understand what you are saying. Then only the child will be able to follow whatever you have given the instruction to. Otherwise, if you quickly try to get any answer from that child, or if you quickly say that okay, you just do it quickly and I'm just waiting, these kind of sentences, these kind of quick processing, at times becomes really difficult for the children with autism. Last will be provide, this is a very important point, teachers, providing any help needed in terms of not as parents, not as only teachers, but as an organization also, which in this context means that I'm talking about the school as an organization, whether you really have to tell the parents as well. At least they should be aware in terms of that what all concessions CBSE as a whole gives to these kind of children, because till date a lot many parents or even teachers do not exactly know, or they do not have that kind of awareness that what all concessions have been given by CBSE, and till date they are also improving on that fact. And also it is made sure by the school authorities and the parents that my child, if is having autism and if he's attending the school, at least he will be authorized to get all those concessions, whether extra time, whether modification in the curriculum, or for that matter, a scribe. That means a writer will also be provided to that child. And lastly, a good concession which is given by CBSE is that the mainstream, the main academic subjects can be very well replaced by any kind of other practical or vocational subjects. So teachers, uh, definitely as teachers, definitely we can adapt to all these kind of intervention strategies or techniques, at least we should know before diagnosing any child with autism. And lastly, I would definitely remind all of you of this fact that if you come across any child having any kind of disorder in your school or in the class, firstly teachers, what you have to do is to contact or ask the parents or request the parents for that matter to get in touch with a psychologist or a proper professional before we start labeling the child as having autism or intellectual disability or anything for that matter. So this becomes your prime concern and your prime step, firstly for the betterment of the child. So teachers, as I can see, there are few teachers joined with us in this session. So it's just a request that anybody amongst you wants to share any of your personal experiences over here related to autism or related to any child having any kind of neurodevelopmental disorder in the school, or you can write it to me as well in the chat box. Or if you have any queries or any question, you can teachers ask me related to autism or any other sessions if you would have attended our earlier sessions. So if you want to ask any question, you can send me a thumbs up or a clapping so that I know that somebody needs to ask the question. Or you can unmute yourselves also before that. So I'm thinking that there is no clarification, although I can see one or two teachers who have been quite consistent with us in almost all our sessions. So it's a good thing, teachers, from your side as well. So definitely, again, I would request that be in touch with us for the further sessions, wherein, as I told you, I will be covering most of the disabilities. So because one of the teachers had asked that they have seen, or there is a child in their school who has hearing impairment. So definitely in the other session, I could not cover up that question, but definitely as a whole, we will be covering up in the coming up sessions, hearing impairment, visual impairment, and so on and so forth. So if you want to attend those sessions, please be ready with your questions, and definitely we will be there to give any kind of answer to your required question. So thank you, teachers. Thank you for being with us, and have a great day.